Hello everyone, welcome to a brand new podcast. Today we are here joined by Rupesh from Sillycorns as well as Faisal from Techarc, and we are here to discuss the Redmi 15 5G, especially in terms of its display and design. Now you guys would have seen a lot of talk about the battery, the crazy EV grade 7000 mAh battery tech that we have put into the smartphone, as well as the fact that this has high performance thanks to the Qualcomm 6S Gen 3 chipset that's powering it, which gives it incredible power, especially at this brand new price point that we're operating at. But apart from that, there's a lot to be spoken about the display as well as design. So we're going to dive into specifics in today's discussion. So let's start. And I think I wanted to ask you guys a question first. How important is the design on a smartphone for you guys?
So first of all, thank you, Sandeep, for inviting me to the podcast. Yes. And I just checked out the phone, by the way. I'll talk about the phone, but first, to answer your question, I think the design is a very underrated factor in today's world because everyone talks about numbers and specs and everything, but design is something you feel for the very first time when you unbox a phone, and that is really important because that's when you sort of fall in love with the phone or maybe not fall in love with the phone. I think that's very important because the in-hand feel is what matters in the long run. Maybe a phone has really good specs, really good cameras, really good processor, but at the end of the day, if the phone is sort of hurting your hands or if it's too big, then that sort of defeats the whole purpose. So I think design is very underrated, and I think a lot of people should more focus on that aspect a lot.
Makes sense.
Hey Sandeep, thanks for inviting and nice being here. So yes, as he said, adding to that, design is very, very important. I think your final decision whether to buy or not, design plays that critical role in deciding that. And otherwise also, design is something which, then becomes part of your personality. Specs don't become part of your personality. Design is something that becomes, so it's very, very critical out there.
No, I think you would also have some insights, Faisal, on how design probably plays an important role even after purchase. And I think that was something that we also had in mind when we were designing the smartphone. Because one, we knew that, of course, people are preferring larger batteries, especially in the segment where there's a huge post-purchase dissonance setting in, where after buying it, they realize that, okay, the battery should have been better. Now, obviously, it's easy to increase the capacity, but that comes with a trade-off of usually a thicker phone or a heavier phone. And that's where the new silicon carbon technology helped us. And believe it or not, this phone is just slightly more thicker, 0.1 millimeters thicker than the predecessor, but having 40% higher battery capacity. So that's how much in depth we went when it came to the design itself. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So one good thing about design has been that it has always been in top 5, factors which are in there while somebody is deciding about it, or even from the post purchase, what delights a customer. So design has always been one among the top 5. So that's been something interesting about it. People don't only decide about phone basis design, but it is also critical in deciding about the post purchase and the overall how delighted a customer feels because of the design.
Correct. And Rupesh, like, you would have tried many phones from a design perspective. One is the visual aspects of it, right? And obviously we have different colors, one of which you have here as well. But I think we also had a conversation long back where we said that it's not just the visuals, but rather how it feels in the hand. That also matters. What do you have to say about that?
Exactly. So the moment we unboxed the Redmi 15, there were two things that came to my mind. First of all, I think it's already been revealed that this has a 7000 mAh battery, and I remember asking you, what's the thickness of this phone? And it's 8.4 millimeters, and the fact that this is packing a 7000 mAh battery is insane if you think about it from where we were in the last couple of years. So that's obviously a big thing. But then obviously I noticed the fact that it has these rounded corners that are very smooth to touch. I love the back finish that it's got a matte finish which is very anti fingerprint because I cannot notice anything. I also like this metal camera deco, and today I learned something new, that this metal camera module isn't just for the aesthetics purposes. There's a reason behind it, right?
Yes. So yeah, that is for heat dissipation essentially.
So I don't think people know about this.
So I think that's something that we also did not initially factor in, that something like a camera deco could be used to sort of dissipate heat and make the phone thermally more efficient. And that's also because a battery, the biggest sort of enemy for a battery is heat. The higher it heats up, the the lower the overall longevity becomes, right? So for example, this battery, we have the capability of having 1600 charge cycles and still retaining 80% battery capacity. So even after say 4 years, even if you charge every day, which you won't because there's a big battery, but even if you charge every day, after 4 years, what then happens is you have say 5600 mAh capacity, which is higher than most other smartphones in this segment.
A lot of
which come
flagships
with,
also.
yeah, a lot of flagships, which is like 5,000 or 5,500 at most. So even after that, you're still getting great capacity. So that thermal efficiency is something that we're trying to maintain, not just from a battery perspective, but also from the design perspective. Yeah.
What I also liked about this phone is the fact that it comes with all sort of basic functionalities you expect from a phone. For example, the box has the 33-watt charger. It has the cable.
Yes.
It has it also has a case.
Yes.
It's got a screen protector pre-applied. So pretty sorted on all those fronts.
Yeah.
And it's also got all the features. I think this has the IP64 rating.
Correct.
And it's got the hyper touch feature on the display, so you can use it with wet fingers or the screen is wet.
Absolutely.
So all very handy features considering the price point, right?
Yeah.
So I was having a conversation with Rupesh, prior to this, and I was talking about how the consumer behavior has changed over the years. Like if you check out, and we did a report some months back on this. So if you look at say 2016 time, there were only say 8% of the customers who were getting delighted because of the post-purchase experience.
Okay. Yeah.
So 92% of the customers would get delighted about what are the specs in it, and that was the sale trigger.
The numbers basically.
Yeah. But now it's around 68% of the customers feel delighted because of the post-purchase experience.
Okay.
So no longer are specs the delight factors. They are of course the sale trigger.
Yeah.
Now here you're talking about the deco. Okay. Now it may look like a simple spec out here.
Yeah.
But the effect or impact it will have on
the experience.
On the experience, that is
Right.
what will matter over here.
Yeah. I always talk about the fact in our videos that it's not the specs that matters every single time.
Yeah.
It's the experience, because at the end of the day, you don't care about the numbers. You care about how the phone's running, if the display is bright enough or not, if it's the colors are right, and if it feels right in the hand. And I think that's a very underrated factor again, because people just talk about the numbers.
Yeah, I think that's where we have also tried to optimize the battery on two aspects. One is the battery itself, where there is a smart charging feature. So it understands your overall cycle, right? Are you going to bed every day at 10, waking up at 8? What is your cycle like? And according to that, it's going to ensure that, okay, you don't need fast charging then. So we'll do trickle charging and ensure that by the time you're awake, when your alarm rings, it's hitting 100%. Or in case you actually do need it, where it's a bit unusual timing, say you're heading for a flight and you're late, you just plug it in, it charges at the maximum capacity, for instance. Even when we were comparing few phones, so this is a 33-watt charging smartphone. We were comparing a phone which is doing 45 watts. Now, the capacity on that is rated at 45 watt. But if you look at the refill rate, that is mAh per minute, we were doing higher. So they were doing a 72 mAh per minute. We were doing 77 in spite of actually having a 33-watt charger. So it's more efficient. And when we were also comparing, okay, that's a 6,000 mAh smartphone. It takes maybe around 80 minutes to do so. For us, doing 6,000 mAh was actually lower than that. It was like 77 minutes. So in the same time, we were actually able to charge equivalent of 6,000 mAh. And then you had more room also to go up to 7,000 mAh. So the refill rate was faster. Even with 6,000 mAh, it was faster. And of course, the last thing is that display supports 144 Hertz. But we also have adaptive sync. And why this is important is, suppose you're always on 120 Hertz, especially in apps that don't require it, you're draining the battery quite a bit. So contextually, it's aware of what it should be consuming or what it should be projecting onto a screen, and hence saving the battery even better. So that is where I think these two things of experience and actually fine-tuning it to ensure that the experience is best, not just on paper, but actually in terms of real-life usage. That's where we...
So what are the different sort of refresh rates the phone can adapt to?
So there are 9 different refresh rates. Off the cuff, I don't remember everything, but say if you go backwards, 144, 120, 90, 30, 60, and I believe there's a 48 as well as a 75 in between. So various different refresh rates are there, and the benefit is it is going to optimize it to the content or the app or contextually whatever you're viewing, and hence maintain the highest efficiency possible. So if you're probably just on a static screen, you don't need 144 Hertz refresh rate there, but if you're probably gaming, you would need 120, 90, etc. So that's when it pushes and gets you to that refresh rate itself. Yeah.
So I was also checking out the screen, and the first thing that you notice in terms of the screen is that it's a big screen, right? It's a
It's a
big
bigger
screen.
screen,
I think it's 6.9 inches.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So 6.9 inches and 144 hertz, like you said. And yeah, it feels smooth and nice. I also think it's pretty bright.
Yeah.
We'll obviously have to check
So
outdoors, but
this is 850 nits, which
Right.
is one of the brightest.
and that's the
displays.
typical brightness.
Yeah, yeah. No, high brightness mode as well.
Right.
I don't remember the exact area of measurement, but what we have also found is the same thing, that because display is probably the most misquoted metric, right? Where basis how you measure
I
it.
get it.
Yeah. So even though we're quoting 850, we found it to be brighter than many other 1000 nits displays out there. But more importantly, what we found here is the fact that the 6.9 inch display in this segment, and you probably have more analysis on this, because this is more often than not the only source of consumption, entertainment or content consumption for people. That large screen is what they are looking at. People want as big a screen estate as possible, whereas when you go higher up, people are okay with actually a smaller screen because there are multiple other screens to
There are multiple screens.
choose from whenever they want it. So that's our experience, but what do you have to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, display, I think is obviously the main interface for any consumer. For whatever experience you want to deliver, it is coming through display. So that's very important out there. And a large screen, as Sandeep said, is very, very vital for a consumer, especially in this segment. While I'm not a fan of compact phones at all, so
Very controversial opinion there.
So I'll not get into that. But I still believe that, people want immersive experiences, and display plays a critical part in that, in delivering those experiences. Of course, edit audio together, then that will make the complete experience. But having said, like, display is one of the critical things. Whether you want to consume or you want to create content, it is out there. Even for AI experiences, display plays a role there.
Yeah.
Look, I wouldn't say that compact. I don't like compact phones because that will be too controversial. I like compact phones, but the fact is the majority of the audiences still want that big screen experience, especially at this price point.
Correct.
And the fact that you're getting a 6.9-inch screen with 144 hertz, it's also an FHD plus display,
Yes.
and it's also got some TUV certification. So what's that about?
So essentially, when you have a larger display, there is a very high chance of eye strain. So that's one thing that we wanted to ensure, that consumers, when they're using it, they actually aren't affected by the display itself. They are not having that strain. Hence, we partnered with UV to get the certification saying this is actually safe to use, even over prolonged periods of time, and hence the certification. I think the other bit regarding the display is also the fact that most people, when they're using phones day in, day out, there tends to be moments where they feel, okay, this is too much blue light, is going to cause issues when they're sleeping, etc. So hence the reading mode is something that we have also added to this.
So in terms of the blue light mode as well, sorry to interrupt you, but there's a lot of confusion among people as well. So they think it's a software feature, but as far as I'm aware, this is more of a hardware level change as well.
Yes, you need both. So it's not just software, but hardware also capability needs to be there to cut that down, because one is, of course, tinting it, but which will not really help to a large extent. But the other way is actually to increase the lights on a hardware level itself to display that color. So both are needed in order to get that efficiently done.
Right. We sometimes underrate these things. We feel like, okay, what if it has a TUV certification or something like that, or the appearance, display has been kind of tuned to offer you eye comfort and other such things. But the fact is that from usage point of view of our active day of any user, we are spending around 25 to anywhere 50% of our active day where we are interacting with the display. I'm not saying continuously watching, but we are interacting off and on. So it becomes very important. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have not been able to control smartphone usage and across ages. Okay, so it becomes very important that we can make devices safer and comfortable for consumers to consume.
I think people are getting aware in terms of TUV certifications. Do you also feel that?
Yes, to some extent, yes, but I think there is more awareness and education required around that. Yes.
Yeah, I think especially in this segment, it's probably not as
especially in this segment, right?
Yeah. So I think we also spoke about AI briefly. So I think that's another thing we wanted to do in this segment. Of course, 5G is there. Back in 2023, when we launched the Redmi 12 5G, the overall adoption rate and shipment volume was just 12% in this segment. Then since then we have had multiple successes: Redmi 12, Redmi 13, 13C and 14C as well, and that adoption rate is now close to 100%. So in that 1 year when we launched it, it went all the way up to 72%. So we really believe that we played a small but important part in pushing or accelerating that, just like how we did with 4G back in the day with the Note 4G, right? So now we believe AI is something that people should gain access to, especially when it makes your life a whole lot efficient and faster. So this does come with Circle to Search and Google Gemini as well.
Especially again at this price point, because a lot of phones sort of skip these features, and the fact that this comes with it is obviously very handy for a lot of people, because these are very useful features. Circle to Search is something that I personally use every single day to find out products, to find out different things, translate things. And Gemini Live, I'm pretty sure is very handy as well.
So I think the first time I used Circle to Search, I was like, I probably won't use it that much.
Exactly.
But then every day I kept going back to it. Then that's when I realized, oh, this is actually a real life changer.
True.
So initially I had my apprehensions, but then it was a great feature. And
it's very, very, handy to use it. And, as you rightly said, see, earlier all these features were seen as premium features. Even to use TUV certification, something like we are bringing some premium element to it, or Circle to Search, or, live search and all those things. But now, we are realizing that these are not exactly premium things, okay? These are some of the things which are really enhancing the user experience and I would say usability of phones, okay? And that's where, it's everybody's right across price segments to have these. So why should we kind of make it an elitist feature that, okay, only elites will have it? It should be across price points. So that's good to see that, okay, these kind of features are getting into these price points also.
Even Gemini Live is very useful. The fact that you can just, have a conversation with Gemini and, make some pointers, do anything. It's very seamless.
And imagine from a user point of view, especially in a country like India, where you are in one city and you are looking at different signboards, you don't understand the language. It becomes very handy out there that you can, easily understand what it is. Or maybe, some hobbies, trying to understand which kind of flower is it, which kind of, plant is it. It's very, very easy to look at these things.
For me, my, best use cases, you look at those Instagram reels where you see a lot of those cool gadgets.
What is that?
Circle to Search, where exactly can I buy it?
Yes,
that's easy.
That
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I remember when Circle to Search first arrived, I was like, it's Google Lens.
Yeah.
What's new? But that gesture sort of makes everything,
it's
better.
very natural.
Yes, exactly.
Like, it's very intuitive, and the moment you start using it, then you're like, okay, it's something that's a game changer for sure.
I also wanted to talk about the design again, because this has a very nice pattern that sort of reflects light.
Yes.
But there's also other colors as well.
Yeah, so this is the white. We have a purple and black. And like you mentioned, all of them have the matte finish. So there's no fingerprints that you would see or smudges. So it remains very clean, very pristine. But I personally like the purple also. I generally don't prefer purple as a color, but I think the one that we have currently called Sandy Purple, it's quite bold, quite different, especially with the new Redmi logo that we have. I think it looks really well. And even the black one. So black is more or less like a shimmery effect. Like a constellation or stars in light, but that's also a good color. But yeah, I personally think the purple is probably what would grab attention right now, but white is perhaps the best executed.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of bolder colors in phones.
Yeah.
So I've seen the purple, version of the phone as well, and that has a very different sort of effect, not the same.
No, it's all different. All three colors are very unique.
I think has a more textured sort of look.
That's like a sand dune type of effect. So all of them have a different style. So it's not just the color, but rather the texture that we played with and the way the light reflects. Even the sort of frosted effect that you see changes with the way that it reflects with light. So
while over the past few years, this entire CMF color material finish, maybe there are some other brands which we have seen maybe have taken some more mind share. But we have to give one credit to Redmi that go back into the era when we had just black and white phones. and then we saw Redmi phones with different colors coming up. So that, I think it added color to this industry. So that credit goes to Redmi.
I think when it comes to designs, Redmi, Xiaomi, they're always very, bold and striking. Even if you look at the higher end phones or even at the mid range segment, all of those phones look really good. That's something you can sort of rely on. That's for sure. Because a lot of phones in this price point, they sort of compromise on the design. Some have a very, plasticky looking back.
Right.
Some are very thick. Some don't really have there's no, a character to the design. And that's where I feel that this kind of stands out, because the moment you look at it, it looks like a slightly more higher end phone is what I believe. Even the camera module, the whole, pattern on the back just stands out, right?
Absolutely, that credit goes to, and that's where I think the youth also got that time back then associated with Redmi, because as I said, it added colors to their lives. We were getting bored of those blacks and whites, and sometimes some gray colors in between. There was no other fourth color, to be very honest, around that time.
And I remember seeing the new logo on Twitter.
Yes.
I was like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. But then I see it, and then I realize that it sort of, makes, stands out because it's just bolder.
Yeah. No, I think logo is one part of the larger puzzle. I think for us also, maybe we needed a new mission statement. We needed something that internally also we all aligned on, saying that we need to change. We need to do something a bit different, because audience has changed so much.
Right.
The user upgradation cycle, for example, in 2017 was maybe 9 months to 12 months is when people were upgrading the phones on average. Now that's gone up to 3 years. So we need to think differently. We need to address different segments of users, because our core users who were Redmi users back then, like you said, were youngsters. They have now grown up, they have graduated, they have become Xiaomi users, or they've become users of different phones beyond the Redmi series. So how do you cater to this new segment of users who are now asking for different things, who are now wanting to flaunt? Like you said, design is a huge aspect of that, and how do they feel like, okay, this is a flaunt worthy phone? Back in the day, it was cool to have a Note series. It was cool to have a Redmi series. So how do we bring that coolness back? That's what we're trying to do with this. Yeah.
Adding specific on this phone, so we do something called unboxing score. I won't reveal the numbers yet, so let's keep that on hold.
Yeah.
But it has done well on that, and how that score works out, it exactly takes the user experience. So it's a weighted score technically, and all those weights are defined by the users. So what is important for them in terms of delight, in terms of experiences, and we are seeing this phone doing pretty well in its segment on that score.
So the score depends on the unboxing experience, the features that the phone has.
No, it's on the specifications versus the price. Right. So it's essential, but those specifications are kind of stitched together basis the user experience.
So what exactly a user wants.
Yes, so what is important, what is prioritized for the user, what does user value or value most among all the things out there. So that's how it is computed. We will be revealing that very shortly, but yes, it has done extremely
so what's like the biggest factor? There must be some very prominent.
So as I said, there are different things. So we capture certain things on the purchase factors, and then on the experience factors also. So purchase factor, still honestly, camera remains important over there. Okay, but on the experience things, things look different then. So experience, entire battery things becomes important. Complete power management. So it's not just the battery; it's about the charger. It's also about how much battery retention, charge retention is over there. How are the thermals managed? So everything is factored over there, and then this score is computed out.
How important are the components? Because I think that's a conversation we are having, because we are giving a charger, 33-watt charger, which is the maximum, compared to, say, another device which probably doesn't give a charger, doesn't give a case, doesn't give a protector. But do you think that adds value to a consumer's?
Absolutely. That's what I said. And that's how we have consciously worked out the score as. Like, if I had to go only by the specs, so yes, 45 would have done better than 33. But then you look at the real experience. What does 33 watt this charger deliver against 45? And that's what the score then translates into.
See, I think at this price point, and especially considering India, everyone wants more for less.
Correct.
And that's the reason I think the unboxing experience matters a lot, because the fact that you're getting a case, you're getting a screen protector, these are very important factors for us Indians, because we want everything in the box. We don't want to buy things separately.
But that's also changing. Why I'm saying, see, look at, we now have consumers who are now owning fourth or fifth smartphone. Okay. Now earlier they did not had a reference point, so they would go by 50 megapixel spec or whatever processor. So they will go by that, and that's where they would feel that okay, higher the better. Okay. But now they have a reference point. They have used brands. Okay. And that has added to their understanding and decision making process. And that's where the experiences are playing a better role now in making that, and coming to that earlier point that almost 2/3 of consumers are considering light factors out of experiences than just the specs.
I think everyone's becoming smarter now. They know that it's not just the numbers that matter. You have to take a look at the experience and how it feels. Just the overall feel of the phone. Because at the end of the day, you are using the phone. You're not, you'll not be doing benchmarks every single day.
I think Indian consumers also very smart compared to many other regions. Like I see that they are able to understand things at a far granular level than many other places. Other places, I think people are more open to just ending up at the shop and asking what to buy, going ahead with the recommendation. But here, even if someone recommends something, they have maybe 10-15 follow-up questions, or they have their mindset saying that this is what I should go for. And that's because they know more. Of course, data is more easily accessible, but I think inherently a lot of the people in India, I feel, are also techies at heart in some way or the other. So,
and they don't take, I think, things on the face value.
Exactly.
So okay, this phone is thin. It has a very thin battery. They then get and probe about that. Okay, how is it going to affect me? What is it going to add? What value does it bring? So it's not just okay, now it's thinner, let me go for it.
I think they ask the question, so what?
So what?
So
Yes.
what,
So what? So how is it going to make my life different? And that's something very.
I think there's
unique
also
for
a whole research process that everyone has.
Yes.
When they compare phones and what are the pros and cons, and then I'll buy. It's not a straightforward purchase.
It's not a straightforward.
Even for this, if you think about it, the design is, if the camera module was big, then that would have factored in as a sort of slightly negative, because it would have wobbled. But so all of these factors come to mind. It's not just the looks, it's how it feels and what it packs. It's a combination of a whole sort of different things.
Something completely out of this discussion. So there's a laptop brand, okay, and that's not doing that good among millennials, okay. So we were asked to check out why it's happening. A very
Let's reveal the
revealing,
brand
interesting fact that came out of it. The point is, and this goes to the fact that how much consumers in India research about things, okay. The connect was that brand is not doing great in enterprise sales, okay. Now, laptop is a family decision still, okay. So parents, they ask their IT colleagues, which brand should I go? And that brand is nowhere in their, visibility, okay. So that's one of the reasons. It was an interesting insight for us to also to find out, okay, that's how consumers go and how deep they go. So that's, it's a laptop. Imagine phone. In phones, I think people try out everything, they go to retailers, they go to reviewers, they check out data, they do every damn.
I think phone is easier for people to judge compared to some other categories where they do not know. Like if you're going to buy an AC, what do you look out for? You don't know.
And
I have a counterpoint. Is it easier, or they tend to show that they know a lot about phones? Like,
no, in terms of phone, you still have a sort of a transparency in terms of the numbers and specs.
Like you know what you want.
If you look at, say, ACs, they're all of these marketing jargons that are thrown into your face that you have no idea what it does, how it works. You have no idea. You just buy on the face of it.
Like I personally also can take an anecdote out of what I saw. What is an R32 gas versus R33, 34? Right? The only R32, 33, 34 I know is a Nissan Skyline. So I'm like, that I know. But I don't know anything about this gas. So then I myself had to Google, right? And so you can imagine other people also not having an idea. So it's easy to say that higher number is better. That's the logic that people go with. But how does it actually help? What is the so what there is not easy to understand. Here at least, okay, you can say megapixel maybe. More could be better. Battery more should be better. So that way people have an understanding. But in the other things, I think they don't know what are the right terms also, because
Yes.
smartphone is something that everyone has. If you look at penetration of laptops, India is probably the only country where people directly get a smartphone before even getting a laptop, right? In other countries, they probably get a laptop when they're in school or in college and then get a smartphone,
Then get a
etc.
smartphone.
But here we're just directly jumping into a smartphone. So I think that ease of access has meant more people know about smartphone than any other category. perhaps.
Yeah, you're right that way. Again on that AC thing.
Yeah.
You remember, I think last year when we had those instances of ACs
Yeah.
burning out.
Yeah.
So again, got interested and I was, really surprised to see that there's a different threshold of stress test in India versus what they do in
Yeah,
Middle East.
yeah,
I was thinking why doesn't it happen in Middle East?
Yeah.
So they do it at a different, degree of I think 45 or whatever, and here we do it at just 32 degrees.
Yeah.
And now temperatures rising, so that was one of the reasons ours don't,
Correct.
don't work under those conditions.
Which is why for this, for example, in the testing, what we do, it is localized, right?
Yes.
Because, for example, if you go to certain regions, there are countries with very similar climatic condition. By that, what I mean is it could be dry throughout, could be wet throughout. So there's not much localization that's needed. For this, because you have maybe Rajasthan where it's dry and hot, you have like, Bangalore, which is more colder. Then you have areas like Kerala, which is humid. So what happens is you need it to work across all of these different climatic conditions over years. So you need to have corrosion-free ports. You need to have, things that work. Maybe the button itself, does it get jammed? So we do all these tests in our labs and ensure that this is built to last for a really long time. So that's why you have like success stories of people even using like a Redmi, Note, the first Note ever. It's still working. Of course, it's not the fastest right now, but it still works. So that's what we're trying to do with this as well.
And also weather has become, by the way, unpredictable now, even in most of the parts of
Yeah.
India. During the day it will be very hot and humid. During night it will be absolutely different and
Yeah.
raining. So I think, the phone also needs to adapt by the day.
Absolutely.
It's not just
That's also true. Yeah.
over
And I think
different.
there's something that everyone will relate to.
Yeah.
So there have been times when you go to a city or a country where it's freezing, right?
Yeah.
It's very cold.
Yeah.
And suddenly your phone battery starts dropping down and you notice it. Why is it happening? I'm not even using the phone.
Yeah.
And that's where I think these tests come in, because I think
So we have that feature as well, yeah. So up to minus 20 degrees Celsius,
queuing in
this
smoothly.
this works perfectly fine.
So I'm going to use it in Kashmir in December.
Actually, yeah,
It will be minus
that's a very good
practical
test.
test.
7,
Yeah.
8. Let
We
me
should try
see.
that. We should do a live video from there and see
Yes,
how it
yes,
works.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
of course.
So I remember I was traveling somewhere and I was using this phone and it was at 100%, but it was freezing. And suddenly I'm checking the phone after 5-10 minutes, it's dropping 20%
Yeah.
every single time.
I mean,
So that's when I realized, okay, this is something that also needs to be,
correct.
accounted
Addressed,
for.
yeah. That's true. I think that's the biggest enemy for the battery. If temperature drops, then you're going to see that. Even for EVs, for that matter, right? The moment you drive in a cold climate, the range plummets like very, very quickly. Yeah. But yes, so that was the phone. I think the camera is the only part that we haven't touched upon yet. This has a 50 MP AI dual camera. The front is an 8 megapixel, and I think the AI features again is something that we're trying to bring to this segment. So we have AI erase and AI sky replacement tool. Of course, we had the AI sky feature. It was just called sky replacement back then. We've had it, I think, since 2017 or 18. But what's different now, it's more contextually aware. And if you apply a filter maybe to a person where there's a subject also, it changes the sky, and even the person also, their skin tone, the clothing, all this also gets adjusted basis the ambient light that you're sort of choosing with the sky. From erase perspective also, we had erase earlier, but now it's again more contextually aware of what the subject is, what the background is, and accordingly does the entire erase, making it a bit more cleaner as well. So these are other features that we're adding to it.
So in terms of AI sky replacement, I remember using this feature back in the day, and it was trending at one point of time because everyone was sharing those pictures with different sky, designs. So in terms of AI, what exactly has changed on that front?
So AI is able to understand what is there. Earlier, the way it used to apply is a cutout. For example, you have a subject, it'll just cut out the subject and change the sky.
So that's what I noticed. You mentioned that now it changes the the texture
lighting
around your.
So I think we have a sample. Maybe we can put it up on screen where we took a portrait of a model, and the sky. It was a good day, fairly sunny, etc. But there was a lot of cloud in the background, which made it look very flat, like it's a white background of sorts. So we changed that. We put a sunset sort of look, And it changed the clothing. So the clothing also had a sunset, that yellowish tinge color. The skin had changed completely. She was holding a guitar or mandolin. Even that had changed color. So it's able to adapt that according to what the background is.
So what I can now sense here is, we are again doing a report on AI in smartphones, and incidentally it's getting released in a couple of days. So there are three aspects what we have looked at. So what is the spread in terms of what kind of, what is the number of AI features that are in a phone? Okay. The second is relevancy. So relevancy is whatever user is doing, so how relevant it is. And then the third is usability. So usability is like, so essentially you do content and communication on phone. So am I able to use it all across my whatever I do throughout the day? Okay. Now what I can understand what Sandeep is talking about, so it becomes more of the relevance. It brings the relevancy for a user.
Yeah.
And that's where, you will see AI adoption increasing. So I'm talking of users who are now already using AI. Now in this segment, we are now seeing people using AI. So I think it's good that, okay, you are starting off with features which will add relevancy for users.
Yeah.
The sky replacement feature is something that a lot of hardcore Redmi, Xiaomi users will really appreciate. And it's gotten better, so it's good to know because I know people who genuinely use this. Yeah. It's a lot of fun as well, and it's also good for social media because the pictures just turn out more attractive.
I think I used it first in 2018 when I went to a place called Gandikota. This is like on the way to Hyderabad. It's like the Grand Canyon of India, apparently. So I went there and I saw that it was just overcast. There's no definition in the clouds. There's nothing there. But it looks so beautiful. So I got that and then I just added the clouds and I was like, oh, now it looks fine. So I didn't feel too bad going there. And
What is the picture?
Yeah. What is the picture? Yeah. That's true. So I think it's fine. Like as long as you're getting social media worthy stuff, I think people are okay with it. So,
That's true.
yeah. But yeah, so that's the Redmi 15 5G. I think quite excited. Of course, great battery, great chipset. But I think design and display are also things that we have focused upon. Looking forward to hearing both of your thoughts as well as what the audience and consumers also feel. So yeah, quite positive about it.
Yeah, looks good, and looking forward to trying out the phone, using it, and looking forward to the purple color because I think that's going to be my favorite as well.
Yes, of course. Yeah,
I think that's quite. It definitely looks, something which is, it looks at least a segment above, in terms of first look and first impression. Than what it is, in the price segment going to be.
Great.
Looks like a promising one. Yeah.
Great to hear. Awesome. Thank you guys for your time. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Hopefully we'll catch up again very soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sandeep.
Thank you guys for
Thank you.
saying
Thanks.
Xiaomi.